Welcome back to another episode of Stuck in the Middle. You're now listening and watching to the Couch Talk here on SitM Podcast. I'm your host, Sir Charles, aka Capo. I'm joined by a good guest, Yoolizzz. But before we get into her, gotta make sure we shout out to sponsors. Yo, be sure to visit www.sitmpodcast.com to shop your exclusive merch. Yo, it's hoodie season. It's gonna get cold. We're tired of sharing hoodies. We're tired of the ladies stealing our hoodies. So fellas, make sure you cop a hoodie for you and your girl because it's cuffing season and you don't want her to be cold. Alright? But remember, www.sitmpodcast.com/merch. This is the fuel that drives this machine. But back to my guest, Yoolizzz. Yo, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yo, so Miss Liz, you know what I'm saying? We here to talk about sneaker culture today here on the Couch Talk. I know you're the CEO of Native Souls, but before we really get into that company, tell us who is Liz?
So I am 25-year-old woman that is from PG County, Maryland. I do work in the IT field. In addition to that, I do have a passion for sneakers. I love to say that I also have a passion for giving. I am a descendant of Liberian, so both my parents are from there.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of sums it up.
True. Okay, so Native Souls, as I mentioned earlier, you are the CEO. From what I've read, it's a charitable organization that's focused on providing comfort and confidence for youth in the urban communities in the DMV.
Yes.
How'd you, what was the purpose and the mission of Native Souls?
So the idea, I think at one point, a couple of years ago, I just started to notice how many shoes I had that would just sit there, and just knowing the need for sneakers in general. Growing up, my mom was always the type to collect my sneakers, collect old things and ship it back home to Africa. So it was like I just have that giving type of nature. So I wanted to make sure that not only myself but also my peers could see that there was a way for us to all give back with just sneakers, things that we have in abundance but we don't use, we put to the side. So just really putting those things to use and being able to help.
So what did your love for sneakers first come in? I can remember the first time I really got into sneakers wasn't really a positive thing for me. It was like, I was growing up, I was getting joned on.
Yeah.
They was like, oh, your shoes look old, or you getting your shoes from Kmart and whatnot. So where did your passion for sneakers really come from?
So with my passion, I would say that growing up, I was fortunate enough to be able to have some sneakers that I wanted. My parents were able to provide that for me. But for me, it was just a way to express yourself, personal self-expression. I feel like sneakers can say a lot, just for me personally, they just complete me. I feel like there's so much to sneakers. Just a sneaker can tell a story.
Right.
And as I got older, I started to pay attention to certain designers, or I would pay attention to certain releases just based on the story behind it, or based on collaborations they were doing. So I would say my love for sneakers started at a young age, and then as I got older in the more recent years, that passion really started to kick in.
Okay, so would you say really just understanding how collecting sneakers and that passion inspired Native Souls, or what really inspired that type of charitable organization?
For that in general, it was really just the fact, I love sneakers, so I would have just a bunch of them. Mm-hmm. To the point where I probably wouldn't wear them for years and they're just sitting there. Mm-hmm. So that was just the thought of, being able to give that out. Also, you mentioned, as far as your experience where you're kind of going through school and you're kind of getting joned on. So it's like, also too, beyond that, you don't know what someone's backstory is. You don't know what their parents may or may not be able to provide at home. And so it's just really being able to provide that level of confidence and comfort to people who may not have it. And it's like sneakers aren't everything, but for me personally, if you look good, you feel good.
Right.
So that was really the drive behind wanting to get Native Soul started.
Yeah, sometime last year, I think, I bigged you up when I came across you had created this. I think this give back or this donation type thing, where you kind of launched your company. You kind of told people what you were doing and what you were about, and the amount of reception and love that you got back from it. Really, not just any old type of sneakers. These are like prominent sneakers, like fresh Jordans, fresh New Balances, like fresh, very top of the line sneakers, where Hypebeasts almost would kill themselves to be a part of that, and you're literally getting that love. Kind of talk about what that experience was like, and really the support that you were able to get from doing this type of organization, or this charitable organization. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so as far as just the feeling in general, it's really like a lot of people's reaction, they don't believe it at first. They're like, I can just have it, like I can just take it. And I'm like, yeah. A lot of people's reactions are, these shoes are really, these are good condition. They're in good condition. They're really well cut. And so I feel like that is a big part of it, whether, I receive donations and I'm literally cleaning them by hand before making sure they go out, making sure that, they're receiving something that they would feel nice in. So it's just, that feeling was really great. As far as the support, it was, and it still, is amazing. I think that it's something that we don't have in the area.
Yeah, for sure.
Something that I learned about, I actually saw on the West Coast with the organization called Have a Soul. And so it was just like, just seeing that, it kind of just reminds me to push. And so getting the feedback from them, and then seeing somebody that, I've seen before do it, just kind of gives me that motivation. Yeah,
speaking of partnering, right? I actually had the luxury of working with another organization called Samaritan's Feet, or Good Samaritan's Feet, where basically they're doing something similar, where they're providing sneakers to at-risk youth. I did it in Charlotte like a couple years ago, and it was just a tremendous turnout. And I think it falls in like when you are able to give back to underprivileged community, especially with something as simple as shoes, that is just something very, very powerful. And I just wanted to commend you on that, because that is no major fee. And then the type of sneakers, it's not like you getting Payless shoes. You getting $100, $200 resale value, $500 shoes. And you giving away for free. So definitely big ups to you, and I definitely want to commend you with that. So who has been one of your, I guess, favorite sneaker designers since you really started studying sneakers?
I would say that overall, in general, some of my favorite designers, like right now, I would have to say Sean Witherspoon. He's absolutely one of my favorite, just because of his colorful expressions, and he does like different things. He believes in being kind to the earth. So he'll have a sneaker, and one sneaker that I have, the insole is made out of a corkscrew. So it's kind of like that earth-friendly type of approach. Sean Witherspoon. Another favorite designer of mine, I would have to say Ann Duskus. So I got familiar with her, and I might be wrong for saying, officially like sneaker designer, but I think it's safe to say, she's a sneaker designer. But I got familiar with her, got to take like online master classes from her. She is just, her work is just amazing. It's like out of the box, extraordinary. Within the past year, I've gotten to learn from Dominic Chambron, which is known as the shoe surgeon. And I feel like with Dom, there's literally no limit. He's determined to try just about anything and everything you can within the sneaker industry. So he's been a huge inspiration. Mark Seppi, Recently got to work with him to actually get into sneaker designing and sneaker development and the actual process of creating your own sneaker. And he's just, he's amazing.
Do they all work for like a particular brand, or are these various brands, or
no,
do they have that luxury?
These are actually, so all of the people that I've named, so Sean, I know that he's had a few collaborations with Adidas, but these are all people who, they aren't working, they kind of have their own name. They aren't working for like any bigger companies or anything like that. Another one I would say too is, oh man, I'm having a brain freeze. Salehi, I'm forgetting his last name, but I believe he used to be the lead sneaker designer for Versace, and his work's amazing. So
with you and your passion for sneakers, do you have like a particular brand that you primarily wear, or a particular shoe that you primarily like? So for example, for me, right, I'm a big fan of Jordan. Anybody that knows me knows I'm Jordan. I know I got on some Griffies right now, but I'm a big fan of Jordan. Like most of the time, if you see me, I'm most likely wearing a pair of Jordans. Most likely. So is it the same with you? A particular brand only, or a particular shoe?
So one thing about me, and what I've been doing a lot more recently, I try to expand, like broaden my horizon. I love a lot of different shoes, a lot of different looks, some crazy, some neutral. Like I just like a lot of different things, which causes my collection to be all over the place. But I would say the largest brand in my entire collection is going to have to be Nike. My favorite silhouette has been for the longest actually the low top Air Force One. Recently I've started getting more into the low top dunks, the SBs. So I kind of got a thing for low tops also, but Nike is definitely the top brand in there. But everything, it's kind of, all over the place, from Vans to Adidas to Nikes. You got a few Jordans, and then I might have maybe something more high-end. So it's kind of all over the place.
For sure. I mean, you're not only a CEO of Native Souls that we talked about, but you're also a CEO of Easy Creations, right? That is a sneaker company that you designed to where you're actually designing sneakers, and I know you brought a couple with us here. It looks like there's some ones. So like talk about what went into some of these designs and why specifically you picked these Nike high top dunks, and what went into the designs and your selection process when it comes to creating a shoe.
Okay, so with Easy Creations, that's primarily like customizing. That started as like actual hand painting. Right. I did get the opportunity to build my sneakers, but as far as like the sneaker builds on these Jordan 1s that I've done, it isn't something I share my work there, but it isn't part of what I sell currently. Right. A lot of the sneaker building that I do, or just like actual designs like this, I kind of just do it on my own. This was the Native Soul that I created in my shoe surgeon class. So the class was to actually teach us how to make an Air Jordan 1 from scratch. And I picked my leathers, picked everything, stitched it from start to finish.
So are we looking at like a 1 of 1?
Yep.
A 1 of 1. So if y'all like this shoe and y'all try to go out and find it, aka PJ Tucker, you're not gonna find it.
Yeah, nah, you can't. This is definitely a 1 of 1 sneaker here. But yeah, this was a pretty dope experience. Just literally what you see, everything started from scratch. It started all those leather pieces cut. This was one I did at home. Actually, the last is still in here. I haven't taken it out. I do need to modify the lasting a bit, but this also is considered a 1 of 1.
These are hot.
Yeah. So the leathers, I just have a thing for some exotics, things that pop. I like to kind of mix and see what happens. But yeah.
It's really dope. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when you come across people who customize Jordans, you know, it's a different type of talent. It's a different type of artistry.
Yeah.
So when you go into creating a shoe, do you go in knowing what you're going to create, or is it like a feel for what you're going through that day?
Well, currently, when it comes to customizing, I would say that I'm typically like a whatever comes to my mind type of thing. Typically, I can't sit down in one setting and just have everything together. You know, I like to take my time to just allow things to come to me or process. So that's how it is with customizing with these builds. A lot of times I just find myself kind of just doing anything. Right now, the Air Jordan 1 silhouette is the only one I know how to build, you know, from start to finish. So those are what I practice. But just taking a sneaker design class and learning truly what it means to design a sneaker, that in itself is like a process where it's like, you know, starting from putting together your vision board. What inspiration is going to be in your shoe? What's the purpose of your shoe? You know, and I would say that in itself is just, it really just challenges my mind, and it allows, like, with my creativity, there's no limitation at all.
Right.
So it's like, I think a lot of times I have crazy ideas, I have to force myself to tone it back, but with this, there's like no limitations at all.
Have you ever created a shoe for anyone that just didn't like the design, or, you know, wasn't feeling the approach?
I actually have before.
Okay.
So
what's that like?
It was just like nerve-wracking, but in the end we were able to work it out and fix up the design. But you know, it was just a matter of being told what she wanted, and so, you know, of course that's what I got into the sneaker, but then it's just like she wanted a bit more. And so for that, we were able to, you know, just sit down, talk, get it added, and in the end it turned out pretty well. For sure.
Sneaker culture today, right, it's definitely changed over the last few years. I think in the last 2 years the pandemic has changed the game, so to speak, right? What are your thoughts on today's sneaker culture?
I would say that, you know, for me personally, I was the type of person, when I think of sneaker culture, the first thing that comes to my mind is just the crazy resale thing that's going on. Like, it's just crazy, right, you know. But as far as for me personally, when I look at the sneaker culture, just naming some of those designers, and not like just the Jordans or the Nikes, you know, or what everybody's getting just to resell for double or to profit and things like that. You know, these are people who put out designs that are going to the next level. You know, a lot of times people talk about, let's say Kanye, for example. He's a really known designer. So if you look at Kanye, for example, a lot of things that Kanye put out, you know, people say, oh, it looks like, you know, this belongs in like 2030, or, you know, it looks like something from the future, or anything like that. Like, that isn't happening by mistake. You know, like, when you put a story behind something, or when you just have an idea of what the outcome of what you're putting out there should be, when you put more into all that thought process, it shows. And as time goes on, your sneaker like moves with it. So I feel like I love the part of sneaker culture where the risks are being taken, where, you know, I'm a fan of oversized outsoles, you know, where I see the chunkier outsoles, you know, like more designers are taking risks with that, more brands are using that. I'm a fan of just like being able to just have a shoe that is just light, you know, like, and so it's like for a long time I've just only paid attention to, like I said, the bigger brands, the Nikes, the Jordans. And once I just started looking into other designers or trying out other ones, maybe not the more major ones, maybe not the ones that everyone was talking about, I'm like, wow, like these might be really comfortable, or like, wow, this colorway is like really dope, or wow, the material of this, like, this is some good quality. Like, so I think that sneaker culture is definitely developing, but I think you just have to look past just this entire big resale thing. Right. That's the focus, because that's where the hype is.
I understand. No, for sure. And because like I'm gonna segue into two things. So one, when it comes to this resale thing, right, or even originally buying sneakers, apps like StockX, sneakers, even Flight Club sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. That's really where I used to purchase my sneakers, but I found it a little bit more difficult to now get sneakers during this pandemic than it was before, because it was a lot easier to go to the store. Mm-hmm. Maybe not easier, but there was different avenues to get the sneakers. Now you're limited, and then even the availability of that on online markets is not as far-fetched as it used to be. So that's definitely been a pain in the butt for me with getting sneakers now. So that's why I asked. The other thing is, you mentioned designers taking risks with the chunkier outsoles. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of that. Especially, and the reason why I bring that up is because I see that more of those, what's the word I want to use? The word I really want to use is those luxury brands. Mm-hmm. So like the Versace's, the Balenciagas, like those big. So man, I'm not a fan, and I hate those shoes. Do you think that because they're not making waves into the sneaker game, that they're gonna somehow overtake the traditional brands of Nike, Adidas, Puma, Reebok?
No.
Even Under Armour?
I don't think they will, because those brands are doing it also. Mm-hmm. Like one of the, I cannot remember the name of the sneaker right now, but one of my, the design I actually created myself featured a oversized outsole, and it came from a Nike sneaker. So I don't think so. I mean, I feel like they're actually able to draw people's attention in, because that is what's in. The oversized thing, it is in. So, some of those sneakers I am not a fan. Right. Because an oversized sole is not just an oversized sole. Like anything that you have, how it looks matters. Like how it looks matters. Right. So how it feels matters. So it's like, that's why I said the idea of, you can have an oversole, but do I feel like my feet are being weighed down?
Exactly.
So there's so many different factors, and I think that it's really just a matter of, once you kind of see what else is out there, or like once you see a lot of maybe different designers that probably aren't big, that's where you'll see how they're really taking these concepts or taking these features and really doing something with, like, not just the big designers, like
when it comes to selecting a sneaker that you like, right? Because a lot of times when it comes to sneaker culture, we have these types of people called Hypebeasts, right? That just go off the newest, the hottest, the freshest, right? Mm-hmm. What goes into your selection process for sneakers that you personally like and are willing to invest in and buy for, your personal wear or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, so I would say that in the past, I honestly probably was considered like a hypebeast. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't the type to just get sneakers, but then probably not, because I wouldn't just get sneakers that are like everybody's talking about, like everybody's hyping. Mm-hmm. I love like all types of sneakers. I wanted like those sneakers because I like them. I wanted like the low-key sneakers that nobody knew about. Like I wanted the sneakers that look cool, but like nobody knew they were like Reebok. Like, so as far as like the hype beats go, and just what I would pay for like certain things, it has to be just, it has to stick out to me. Like, it just has to stick out to me. I love neutral colors. I love soft colors. So, like, teals or maybe lilacs, things like that. I love sneakers that, don't just have regular leather. I love sneakers that may be suede, maybe nubuck, or maybe mixed, or may have, like, bandana patches on it. Like, I love sneakers that are just not limited.
For sure. I was actually going to ask you a question. I almost lost my train of thought. Growing up, you mentioned you being Liberian. Were you born here or there? Here. Okay. So you're basically first generation. I would like to consider that the same first generation. Was it difficult convincing your parents to invest in sneakers growing up for you?
My mom, yes. My dad, no.
How were those types of conversations?
So, like, I think that I was just so early on, honestly. I would say when I really started really liking sneakers, I would say it probably was ninth grade, like my ninth grade year. So did a lot of convincing or like bribing with like my grades or things like that. My mom, she'll probably like buy me some if it's like my birthday or a holiday, but she wasn't really big on spending that type of money on sneakers.
For sure.
And so even then, with me really getting into it at the age of like, what would that be, ninth grade, like 14, 15? I mean, you start working not too long after that. So I would say by like my ninth grade summer, 10th grade year, I had a job, I think like McDonald's or Six Flags. So like once I started getting my own money, just buy my own sneakers, But for those first couple of years, definitely bribing with my grades, and then just using my birthdays, holidays, anything for just sneakers.
Right. And like, yeah, I know for me, man, it took a lot. Like, I couldn't really go ask my Dukes for $100 and something to go get a pair of sneakers. I tell people from middle school to probably like my 10th grade, maybe 11th grade year, man, I was straight Dunks, Air Forces, because they was like $80, $60, and I can get away with that.
Yeah.
And that type of trying to convince African parents that you need to buy certain shoes so you can stop getting joned on is no easy feat.
Yeah.
And sometimes they might even go buy the wrong shoes. Has that ever happened to you?
No, never sent anybody to the store to get my shoes. Never.
You always had to go with somebody.
Shoes, yeah. But I mean, it's like I get it though. Like especially after taking a trip back home, and like you seeing where our parents grew up at, and like where they grew up at, you see what matters and what really doesn't matter.
Right.
So that's another part of Native Souls. Like, it's like I could buy all the sneakers in the world, but it's a million people out here. Like, not a million, well, probably.
You know what I'm saying?
But there's so many people out here who they literally can't afford. So even like with Native Souls, like it's not just here too. Like when we look at back home, like literally about 80% of the population that I saw, they have on sandals. And I was out there rainy season, like my feet are protected. I put on socks and shoes. Like, so I could understand why they like, I'm definitely not doing that, because it's not really ideal to them. That's not something that they would do back home, to spend that type of money on shoes, especially not $80 US. Like, we're not talking about their currency. So I think that's where it comes from.
Last question. How do you keep up with trends in the sneaker culture? Like, to know what's hot, what's new, so that way when you go into designing and staying creative, you're up to date.
Honestly, I just search. Like, I just look at new releases about, every couple of days, or maybe things on sale. Like, I'm just looking. A lot of times it's the new releases. So if I'm on like freaking Farfetch, Essence, Sneaker News, it can be anything. So I just try to look at things that are coming out, and then I just follow a lot of different designers online. Okay. So they announce their sneakers, like you see certain things before there's even a release date. They start to show like samples or things like that. So that's really how I just keep up to date, like social media, but just to see where everybody's at, and then just staying true to what my inspiration is at the end of the day.
Sure. Do you have like any tips or tricks that going to buy sneakers? Cause like, cause for me, whenever new Jordan releases used to come out, right, I would have 3 computers, open, all on Finish Line, like every website you could possibly think of, and still not hit. Yeah. Any tips? Any tricks? Cause I see your sneaker game, and your sneaker game is it's a little lit.
I've gotten lucky on sneakers a couple of times. I got the Off-White 5s. I won those on sneakers. I won a couple of things on sneakers, but a lot of times, sometimes I've even found things like in a Nike outlet store. Like, literally, I think like my Bred 4s, the Cement 3s when they came out like a couple years ago again. I was able to get like a fresh pair from there. So I kind of just get lucky. I may try to use my laptop and use my phone, or use 2 different sneakers account, but the waiting, I can't do it. Right. And then having to work and stuff and trying to do that, it just doesn't work. And then now too, sometimes depending on what resale is or how bad I really want the shoe, I'll pay resale.
Yeah, like I'm just now like, F it, I'm on Flight Club. Flight Club does me right, even though I gotta wait 20 days for shipping. It is what it is. There's only one pair of shoes that I really wanted that I never got, that I know I'm not gonna buy until I get like 20,000, which is the Dior ones. Oh, yeah. So if anybody's out there and want to donate, they're Dior. Yeah. They're one of one. I just like the silhouette of the check and the Dior symbol with the gray. I just like the whole shoe itself.
So another thing I would say too, right? It's probably the last thing I say. So when you look at, let's say, a shoe like that, right? How much is it going for resale?
20,000, maybe more now.
20,000. And no disrespect to Dior, no disrespect to Nike, none of that. So it's like, there's another thing about really, you learn about different designers that are out there, and like really getting familiar with people that are out here really like they're making these sneakers from scratch. Like, they're using these exotic leathers, like high-end leathers, like, and so let's say you got 20 bands and the Dior's are how much, whatever, 10, how much are they, like 10? Oh, they when they first came out, there was like regular retail, that was like 220 regular. Yep. So with something like that, the more you get familiar with what's out there, you could have somebody make you really what's a one of one. Like, like I'm really talking like a legit one of one. You could have somebody use like actual Dior and implement it on your sneaker, your silhouette, anything, and you could probably pay like under 10 bands. Right. Because that price is not just because it's Dior, it's not just because it's Nike, it's the price of the hype comes with it. So it's like, when you talk about like, really wanting one of one, or if you think about what you will really be willing to spend that money on, you start to like, the more you just dib and dab, you take a look at a few different designers, and I'll send you some on Instagram, you'll be like, damn, like, feel this leather.
No, I could tell. I could tell. Like, it's mad soft. You could just tell it's different from the traditional ones. Like, you could just see it before I even touch it, before anything. Like, this part is different than this part. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all see this, and
even as many times as I've worn these, the crease, there's nothing holding, this toe up here. Was something in there, but with these, like, the crease, like, these shoes, and it's just like, the silhouette is the same, but you just always got to think about, like, when you're really spending money, you want to think about quality. And that's another thing why I stopped spending, stop tripping about shoes I couldn't win online, or stop playing like crazy prices for all these shoes I thought I wanted, because it's like that quality matters. So like if I see a shoe that's like dope, it got like a crazy design. I think I won these on sneakers, but I'll pay for it.
So I'm sorry, I'm rambling. When it comes to sneaker designs, like when you're designing from scratch, what do you need to design from scratch? Like, do you need an all white, or do you just go and get the material yourself? Like, if I come to you and I'm like, yo, I know there's no sneaker out here like this, but this is what I'm thinking about my sneaker, what would you need in order to complete my thought?
It depends what you like, what exactly you want though. Like, you want like an existing sneaker customized, or do you want your own sneaker built from scratch like this? Like, this is an Air Jordan 1 high top, Air Jordan 1 made from scratch.
So let's say we had a 1, right? We got stuck in the middle. You see all of our logos around here. If I wanted something where it could say stuck in the middle on the Nike sign, right? Basically our logo, something like that around here with our stuck in the middle colors, what would you need?
So, and we're talking, this is with paint or leathers? What are we talking?
This is with leather. I don't know, I'm open. You tell me, what would you feel is the best what would you recommend?
I mean, you would, if you look at the shoe.
I like this leather.
Right here,
I like how it feels.
Yeah, so if you look at just a shoe that's like this, and the reason why I say an existing shoe or one that isn't existing, like if you take like literally a shoe that's already existing, and like you add things to it, you paint it, you customize it, or you make this from scratch. You choose what you want. So you would need to, what you would need, starting which idea, but what's going to be needed are the different leathers. If you want a different color here, a different color here, those are all different leathers that you would need. When you talk about getting a name on it, so once again, it's still leather. So there's different ways that you can get names on leather. Do you want to stitch it on there? Do you want to embroider it? Do you want to have somebody do some sort of painting technique? There's a lot of things that you can do with it. And this isn't too crazy, too quirky, but you can really do a lot with it.
Yeah, I think I'm about to start getting my sneakers designed 101s. I'm about to start having exclusive sneakers that y'all ain't gonna get anywhere else.
Do it. I would recommend it. And it's just like,
is it a cheaper route than going out and buying it pure retail?
No,
okay, of course not. I'm just saying. If
you like
Jordan is $220.
Like no.
Depending on what Jordan.
If you're talking honestly, people that I know, like let's say like even people that I did a class with, this class with, and they went home and they actually, they build their sneakers and they're selling them right now. They're starting at least $1,200.
Hey, God. Maybe
that's why I said. After all. But that's why I said if you're gonna pay 10 bands for something that was $220, the real value of the shoe was what it started at. It was there like that for a reason, or like. Even if it was like, let's say like 1,000, I don't think it was $220. I think it was like at least like $1,200 or something. Yeah, because it's actual Dior. Yeah. So that is where the value started. But all the other 1,000 that are added is literally just off of hype. It's because of the need of it. When somebody charges you how much ever they're going to charge you for their shoe, for the people that I know that's making sneakers, it's based off of the quality. It's based off of the time. You're not just like, I want a shoe that looks like that. Can you make it? No. I got to sit down with you. We got to talk. What do you want? What type of colors do you want here? If you're just telling me what your inspirations are, what you want implemented into it, then we got to think about, okay, does this look, I got to give you different ones. Okay, do you like this model? Do you like this model? Which one are you going to approve? Like, which one is good? Like, there's a lot that goes into that process, and this leather isn't cheap. When you talk about leathers, when you talk about the outsole, when you talk about thread, when you talk about the insole, here you feel that's foam. There's different components in this that holds the sneaker together. and it isn't cheap. And then, you know, some people, they're just like a one-man band, so they're literally at home with their sewing machines and they're making it.
How long is the creation process from start to finish?
Depending on it's all, for everybody is different, depending on, you know, just where you're at. This shoe, we made it in a span of 3 days in class, about 8 hours each day. I want to say 3.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, but also too, it was like the initial learning process. So let's say if I'm at home, if I wanted to work on a sneaker just straight, I mean, you can probably get it done in a couple of days. You just really it all depends on how much time you're putting in. For some people, I wouldn't say they could sit down in a day and make. I mean, they probably could, but that's a stretch because you're doing 2. But you can do it within a couple of days.
For sure. Yo, this has been a really, really dope, interesting conversation. Where can the people find you if they ever get interested in, you know, sneaker designs, creativity, anything like that, or just keeping in touch and wanting to donate sneakers? Where can they find you?
Best place is Instagram at Yoolizzz with 2 O's and 3 Z's. I typically keep everything updated on my page. Anything that I'm doing with any of my businesses, it'll be posted there. And there will be a lot of updates coming shortly, but definitely my personal page is where you guys can catch me for everything.
Yo, thank you for coming through. I know we had a lot of back and forth, a lot of time we had to schedule. You know, this particular interview, this sit down, but this was definitely a topic that was close to me. You know, I'm a big fan of sneaker culture. I might be a hype beast myself, but you know, it is something I seen. You know, I seen you be a part of, and I just wanted to make sure we had that conversation and just big up you for everything that you've been doing and all your major accomplishments. Just keep up the good work because you're making all of us proud. You know, I know you personally.
Thank you.
You know, we go back, but you know, you're doing major things out here, and it's only up. Yo, once again, I'm your host, Sir Charles, aka Capo. I'm joined here by Yoolizzz, YOOLIZZZ, on Instagram and all social media platforms. Make sure you hit that ringer up top to stay notified on everything stuck in the middle. We had a couch talk, we had an artist spotlight, we had a regular interview earlier with Flex. Yo, shout out to everybody that's involved. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Go to www.sitmpodcast.com to shop that exclusive merch. Once again, this your boy Capo. Shout out Ma, shout out to Cherry, shout out Flex, shout out AK, shout out Tutu, shout out Ines, shout out the whole squad. Shout out to you for staying tuned to subscribe. This your host, Couch Talk. We out.
Hey everybody, this is your girl Tutu, and make sure you check out our online store so you can get some SITM merch. Make sure you check us out. Make sure you hit up all our videos. We got some dope content on the way as well. Make sure you also subscribe, hit that bell little notification, and check us out because we got more in store.